Let me ask you something real quick. What would you do if the person you love most, the one who promised to protect you, pushed you into oncoming traffic while you were 6 months pregnant with their baby? Can you even imagine that level of betrayal? That kind of evil? Well, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you isn't fiction. This is Sarah Mitchell's story, and I promise you by the end of this video, you're going to be on your feet cheering. But before we dive in, do me a favor. If you love stories about comeback, about women who refuse to stay down, about karma doing its job, smash that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel and share this video with someone who needs to know that their pain has a purpose. Trust me, you're going to want to share this one. Now let's get into it. December in Chicago. You know how brutal that is, right? Wind cutting through your bones, rain turning to ice, the kind of night where even the homeless find shelter. But on Rush Street, one of the fanciest areas in the city, Sarah Mitchell stood outside a restaurant called Gibson's, shivering, dizzy, 6 months pregnant, and her millionaire husband, he was inside, with another woman. Now, let me back up and tell you how we got here, because this is important. Sarah wasn't always struggling. 2 years earlier, she was a happy librarian at the Harold Washington Library. Simple life, small apartment. But she was content. Then David Mitchell walked in. Tall, handsome, designer suit, Rolex watch. He was a real estate developer, the kind of guy who owned half the buildings in downtown Chicago. He came to the library for a business meeting, but when he saw Sarah organizing books, something clicked. He asked her out, treated her like a queen, flowers every week, dinner at the finest restaurants. He made her feel like Cinderella. 6 months later, they were married. And that's when everything changed. After the wedding, David sat Sarah down and said, "Babe, you don't need to work anymore. That library job doesn't match my status. Stay home. I'll take care of everything." Sarah thought it was sweet. She thought he just wanted to provide for her. So she quit her job. Big mistake. Within months, David changed. He stopped giving her money. When Sarah asked for grocery money, he'd say, "I already gave you money last week. What did you do with it?" "That was $50, David. It's gone." "Well, figure it out. I'm not an ATM. Sarah started begging neighbors for food. Sometimes she'd owe the building doorman money for lunch. It was humiliating. And David, he was out buying $500 bottles of wine for his new girlfriend, Jessica. Oh yeah, let me tell you about Jessica. Jessica was everything David thought Sarah wasn't. Designer clothes, perfect makeup, high heels. She worked in marketing and knew how to charm rich men. David started coming home later and later. Then he stopped coming home at all. One night, Sarah found hotel receipts in his car. Confronted him? You know what he said? "You're boring, Sarah. You dress like you shop at thrift stores. You don't know how to socialize with my clients. Maybe if you tried harder, I wouldn't need to look elsewhere." Sarah was pregnant at this point, struggling, hungry, and her own husband was blaming her for his cheating. Fast forward to that December night. Sarah hadn't eaten all day. She was feeling sick, really sick. The baby wasn't moving as much. She was scared. She knew David was at Gibson's with Jessica because she saw his Instagram story. So she took the bus downtown, used her last $3. When she got there, she stood outside in the freezing rain and called him. He didn't answer. She called again. Nothing. Finally, she went inside. The hostess tried to stop her, but Sarah pushed past. There they were, David and Jessica, laughing, drinking champagne, feeding each other steak. Sarah walked up to the table. "David, please, I need to see a doctor. Something's wrong with the baby." David's face went red. "What are you doing here? I've been calling you. I'm scared. Please, can you just—" Jessica cut her off. "Oh my God, is this the wife? Babe, this is so embarrassing. Sarah, leave, now." David stood up. "David, please, I just need $50 for the doctor. I said leave." People were staring. Sarah felt the tears coming. She grabbed his arm. "Please, I'm begging you." Jessica stood up too. "Babe, you need to choose. Right now. It's either me or this desperate woman." David looked at Sarah, and in his eyes she saw nothing. No love, no pity, just disgust. "I already chose," he said. Then he shoved her, hard. Sarah stumbled backward, through the restaurant door, onto the wet sidewalk. She tried to catch herself, but her foot slipped. She fell into the street, right into traffic. The last thing she heard was tires screeching. Then everything went black. Marcus Johnson was delivering pizza that night. He was at a red light when he saw the whole thing. Saw the man push the pregnant woman, saw her fall, saw the car hit her. Marcus didn't think. He jumped out of his truck and ran. The car had hit Sarah's side, spinning her to the ground. Blood was pooling under her. "Call 911, Marcus screamed at the crowd. He took off his jacket and covered her. "Stay with me. Help is coming. You're going to be okay." Sarah could barely speak. "My baby. Please, save my baby. Both of you are going to make it, I promise." The ambulance arrived. Marcus rode with her to Northwestern Memorial Hospital. He stayed in the waiting room for 4 hours while doctors operated. When Sarah finally woke up, groggy and in pain, the first face she saw was Marcus's. "Your baby is okay," he said softly. "You both survived." Tears poured down Sarah's face. Marcus pulled up a chair. That man who pushed you, who is he?" Sarah closed her eyes. "My husband." "Your husband?" Marcus stood up, furious. "We need to call the police right now. He tried to kill you." "No," Sarah whispered. "Please. No police. I need to rest first." Marcus didn't understand, but he saw the fear in her eyes, so he backed off. "Look," he said, writing his number on a piece of paper. "If you need anything, food, a ride, someone to talk to, call me, okay?" Sarah nodded, clutching the paper like a lifeline. Sarah stayed at Northwestern for 2 weeks. David never came, not once. No flowers, no calls, nothing. But you know who did visit? The nurses. They'd heard her story. They brought her food from home. One nurse, Maria, even brought baby clothes. "You're going to get through this, honey," Maria said. "I've seen women survive worse. You're stronger than you think." Sarah wanted to believe her. But inside, she felt broken. On day 10, a social worker came by. "Miss Mitchell, we need to discuss your discharge plan." "Where will you go?" Sarah stared at the ceiling. "I don't know. My husband changed the locks. Do you have family?" "My dad. He lives in Bronzeville." The social worker nodded. "Okay. We'll arrange transportation." Sarah felt ashamed. Bronzeville was the neighborhood she grew up in. The place David always called the hood. He'd say things like, "I can't believe you came from there. Thank God I rescued you." Now she was going back, pregnant, penniless, broken. But at least she'd be safe. Mr. James Mitchell opened the door, and his face crumbled. His daughter, his baby girl, stood there with a hospital bag, bruises still visible on her face, 6 months pregnant, crying. He didn't ask questions. He just wrapped his arms around her. "You're home now, Sarah. You're safe. That's all that matters." That night, Sarah cried herself to sleep in her childhood bedroom. But in the morning, something shifted. She woke up and felt the baby kick, strong, determined, and Sarah thought, "This baby is a fighter. So am I." 3 months later, on a snowy March morning, Sarah gave birth to a 7-pound baby girl. She named her Hope, because that's what she was, hope for a better future. Marcus came to visit at the hospital. He brought flowers and a teddy bear. "She's beautiful," he said, looking at the baby. "She's got your strength." Sarah smiled. "Thank you for everything. You saved our lives." "Nah," Marcus said. "You saved your own life. I just helped a little." When Hope was 2 months old, Sarah went back to the Harold Washington Library. Her old supervisor, Mrs. Chen, hugged her tight. "We missed you. Your job is waiting." The pay was only $2,200 a month. After daycare, Sarah had barely $800 left. But she didn't complain. During lunch breaks, while Hope napped in her stroller, Sarah started writing. She wrote about everything: the marriage, the gaslighting, the financial abuse. That night on Rush Street, her coworker, Mrs. Rodriguez, noticed. "What are you working on?" "A book," Sarah said. "I want to warn women. Tell them to never give up their independence. Even if you marry rich, keep something of your own." Mrs. Rodriguez's eyes filled with tears. "Sarah, you have to publish this." "I don't have money for that. The library has a staff loan program. It's not much, $5,000 max, but it's something." Sarah's heart jumped. $5,000? Apply today. I'll recommend you. Sarah borrowed the full $5,000. She used $2,000 for editing, $3,000 for printing 500 copies. She called the book When Love Became a Prison: How I Found My Freedom. At first, she sold copies everywhere, at bus stops, outside grocery stores, at church. She'd approach women and say, "This book might save your life." Some women looked at her like she was crazy, but others saw something in her eyes: desperation, truth, survival. They bought it, and they started calling her. Your book made me leave my abusive husband. I started my own business because of your story. You saved my life. Then, a miracle happened. A woman named Keisha who bought the book worked at V103, a major Chicago radio station. She called Sarah. Durrell, your story needs to be heard. Can you come on the morning show? Sarah showed up with baby Hope on her hip. No fancy outfit, just jeans and a sweater. The host asked her to tell her story. Sarah did. Raw, unfiltered, real. The phone lines exploded. Women called in crying, sharing their own stories of abuse, cheating, abandonment. The book sold out that day. All 500 copies. Gone. Sarah printed 2,000 more. They sold in a week. Within 6 months, Sarah had sold 50,000 books. She wrote a second one, You Are Enough, Building Your Life One Step at a Time. Then a third, Strong Women Don't Wait to Be Saved. Each book sold faster than the last. Sarah started speaking at women's conferences, small community centers at first, then churches, then big venues. Her message was simple. Don't lose yourself trying to keep a man. Build your own life, even if it's small, even if you're just selling homemade candles or doing people's hair. Have something that's yours. Women loved her because she wasn't preaching from a pedestal. She'd been in the pit. She knew the struggle. One day, Sarah got an email from the Women's Empowerment Foundation. Miss Mitchell, we'd like you to be our keynote speaker at our national conference, McCormick Place, 8,000 attendees. Are you interested? Sarah stared at the screen. McCormick Place, the biggest convention center in Chicago. She called Marcus. They want me to speak in front of 8,000 people. You better do it, Marcus said. Your story needs to be heard. The day of the conference, Sarah was terrified. She stood backstage, holding her notes, shaking. Hope, now 4 years old, tugged her hand. Mommy, why are you scared? Because there are so many people out there, baby. But Mommy, you're brave. You always tell me that. Sarah smiled and kissed her daughter's head. You're right. I am brave. When they announced her name, Sarah walked onto that stage. The lights were blinding. The crowd was massive. But Sarah took a deep breath and began. Good morning, ladies. My name is Sarah Mitchell. And 5 years ago, my husband pushed me into traffic while I was pregnant with his child. The room went silent. He did it because I asked him for money to see a doctor. He did it because his girlfriend told him to choose. He did it because he saw me as worthless. Sarah's voice got stronger. But I'm standing here today to tell you, no man gets to define your worth. Not your husband, not your boyfriend, not your father. You define your worth. The crowd started clapping. Sisters, I don't care if you're selling candy bars out of your purse, or cleaning houses, or working at McDonald's. If it's yours, it's valuable. Build yourself, even if it's small. Because when life knocks you down, and it will, you need something to stand back up on. The crowd stood up. Applause thundered. Sarah wiped her tears. I'm not special. I'm just a woman who refused to stay down. And if I can do it, so can you. 10 minutes of standing ovation. The speech was broadcast on national TV. And guess who was watching? David's life had become a disaster. Remember Jessica, the classy, sophisticated woman he chose over Sarah? She was a nightmare. She couldn't cook, ordered takeout every night and spent $200 a day on food. She couldn't clean, and she was insanely jealous. If David's phone buzzed, she'd scream, Who's that? Your side chick? You think I'm stupid? It's a client, Jessica. I don't care. Delete her number. Jessica started calling David's female business partners. Stay away from my man. Deals fell apart. Investors pulled out. David's reputation tanked. His business lost millions. And at home, no peace, just screaming, fighting, regret. One night, David was watching TV. And there she was, Sarah, on the national news, speaking at McCormick Place, looking beautiful, confident, powerful. The woman he threw away was now a star. David's chest tightened. He felt sick. That's your ex? Jessica sneered. She's not even that pretty. But David couldn't look away. He made the biggest mistake of his life. The next morning, David drove to Bronzeville. He pulled up to Mr. Mitchell's house. It looked the same, small, modest, the house he used to mock. He knocked. Mr. Mitchell opened the door. When he saw David, his face went hard. What do you want? Mr. Mitchell, I need to see Sarah, please. My daughter isn't here, and even if she was, why would she see you? I made a mistake. A mistake? Mr. Mitchell's voice rose.
You pushed her into traffic. You left her bleeding in the street. You abandoned your own child.
I know. I'm sorry. Now you're sorry? Now that she's successful?
Where were you when she was crying herself to sleep? Where were you when she had to borrow money for diapers?
Get off my porch. He slammed the door. But David didn't give up. He found out Sarah was speaking at a women's summit downtown. He went there and waited outside for 3 hours. When Sarah finally came out, surrounded by fans asking for autographs and selfies, David pushed through. Sarah, please, I need to talk to you. Sarah stopped. The crowd quieted. She looked at him, calm, unbothered. David, what do you want? Can we talk? Privately? Sarah glanced at her assistant. Give me 5 minutes. They stepped aside. David's hands were shaking. Sarah, I'm sorry. I was a fool. I made a terrible mistake. Jessica has made my life hell. My business is failing. I have no peace. I need you. Please. Can we start over? Sarah listened, no emotion on her face. When he finished, she asked one simple question. David, let me ask you something. If I was still living in my father's house, working at the library for $2,200 a month, struggling to pay rent, would you be here right now? David opened his mouth. Nothing came out. That's what I thought, Sarah said. You're not here because you love me. You're here because I'm successful now. Because I have value to you now. That's not love, David. That's opportunism. Sarah, please, I forgive you. Truly, but I've moved on. I have a daughter who needs me. I have thousands of women who depend on me. I have a purpose, and you're not part of it anymore. She turned to walk away. Sarah, I love you. She stopped, looked back. No, David. You love what I've become. You never loved who I was. And she walked away. David stood there, tears streaming down his face, watching the love of his life disappear into the crowd. He'd lost her. Forever. 5 years later, Sarah's books have sold over 3 million copies worldwide. She's been translated into 12 languages. She runs a foundation called Hope Rising that gives microloans to abused women starting businesses. She's remarried. To who? Marcus Johnson, the pizza delivery guy who saved her life. They have 2 more kids together, and Marcus adopted Hope. They live in a beautiful home in Lincoln Park. But Sarah still goes back to Bronzeville every week to mentor young girls. As for David, last anyone heard, he's broke. Jessica left him for a younger, richer man. His business went bankrupt. He's living in a studio apartment and driving for Uber. Karma is real, folks. Let me tell you something. Your pain right now, it's not permanent. That person who broke your heart, they don't get to write your ending. Sarah Mitchell went from being pushed into traffic to being pushed onto stages, from being called worthless to being worth millions, from begging for scraps to building an empire. And you can too. I don't care where you are right now. I don't care how broken you feel. Your comeback is coming. So let me ask you, what would you have done in Sarah's position? Would you have taken David back? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear from you. And if this story inspired you, if it gave you even a spark of hope, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because somebody out there is in their darkest hour right now, and your share might be the light they need. Remember, your current chapter is not your final story. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong.